The proclamation of the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus and his disciples left from there and began a journey through Galilee, but he did not wish anyone to know about it. He was teaching his disciples and telling them, "The Son of Man is to be handed over to men, and they will kill him. And 3 days after his death, the Son of Man will rise." But they did not understand the saying, and they were afraid to question him. They came to Capernaum, and once inside the house, he began to ask them, "What were you arguing about on the way?" But they remained silent. They had been discussing among themselves on the way who was the greatest. Then he sat down, called the 12, and said to them, "If anyone wishes to be first, he shall be the last of all and the servant of all." Taking a child, he placed it in their midst, and putting his arms around it, he said to them, "Whoever receives one child such as this in my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives not me, but the one who sent me." The Gospel of the Lord.
Our Gospel this Sunday comes from St. Mark. We have been reflecting on wisdom from above, and how that influences a human person. In the first reading, we see this figure of the just man presented by the Book of Wisdom, who operates from a wisdom that the world cannot understand, a wisdom of patience and gentleness, a wisdom of trust in God, who will defend me, whereas his detractors seem to be operating from a wisdom of this world that is acceptable to this world. Vile behavior, testing the just one. And in the second reading from St. James, we find also this. St. James talks about jealousy, envy, quarrels, all originating from a wisdom of desire, desiring for things that are not of God. And because of that desire, I can be brutal towards people whom I consider as blocks to my desires and my ambitions. Whereas wisdom from above is pure, innocent, leading us to peace. Now, in the Gospel, we see the same drama. Jesus just told his disciples that he, the Son of Man, will suffer the fate of many prophets, that he would be maligned, that he would be arrested, that he will be put to death, but he will be raised on the third day. Now, this declaration of the type of Messiah that he is becomes unreachable to the understanding and the minds of the disciples. The Gospel plainly says they did not understand him. Their capability or their level of wisdom has not yet been elevated to the wisdom that Jesus is sharing with them. And even from the human, a purely human perspective, who would want to believe in a Messiah who will be defeated, who will be humiliated, who will be put to death? Conventional human wisdom, looking for idols and heroes, will not choose a defeated Messiah as an object of belief. Now, to highlight their lack of understanding, the Gospel tells us that immediately after this revelation by Jesus, the disciples started quarreling, or maybe just discussing, no? But I guess they were debating among themselves. And Jesus asked them, "What are you discussing?" And they admitted the topic was, who is the greatest? Who is the greatest? They failed to understand. They were really operating from a different concept of messiahship. They were coming from a form of wisdom that is still very worldly. They could not understand what Jesus was talking about. They missed the point of Jesus' humility. And so they started discussing who among them was the greatest. Now, Jesus patiently will lead them to the wisdom of God. So Jesus tells them, if you want to be the first, you should be the last. Greatness, according to the wisdom of God, is measured differently. Greatness is found in those who are willing to be the least, whereas the wisdom of this world measures greatness when you are always at the top. If you are declared the greatest baseball team, that means you're always at the top. If you are declared the greatest tennis player, that means you are at the top at the many weeks. No? But here in the kingdom of Jesus, the wisdom from above, greatness is measured by your being the least. And then Jesus called a child, a symbol of a humble, dependent, and poor person. And Jesus tells them, whoever welcomes this poor child welcomes me. Again, according to the wisdom of Jesus, you become great when you serve and you welcome the poor, the humble ones. So you become the least and you become the servant of the humble ones. You don't serve those who are at the top. You serve the lowly. So that means you consider yourself lowlier than the lowly. Now, this is the type of wisdom that St. James is talking about. This is pure, innocent wisdom that is manifested in service, kindness, manifested in the peace that it reaps. And we know that we are like the 12 disciples. Even if we claim we believe in Jesus, even if we claim we are already following Him, many times the wisdom of this world dominates. And we even join those who say that the wisdom from above is really foolish. But that is how it goes. The wisdom that Jesus offers to us, and it is the wisdom of His kingdom, is totally different. You have to be the least. You have to be a humble servant. And that is where your purity will reap fruits of peace and justice. In a few days, we will be celebrating the feast of our first Filipino martyr saint, San Lorenzo Ruiz, who for us is also an image of wisdom from above. Some people say that he probably joined the missionaries to Japan not only out of missionary zeal, but in order to escape from an allegation. So, human wisdom dictates, escape. And what a better way to escape than to join a group of missionaries? Well, this is one interpretation. I don't know whether this is the historically viable interpretation. But even if it's not historically founded, there seems to be some truth to it, no? But God has plans for him. He reached Japan, and there with the missionaries, mostly Dominican missionaries, they were put to the test. And we see the influence of wisdom from above. If Lorenzo Ruiz just stayed on the level of worldly wisdom, maybe when he was asked whether he was a Christian, he would have denied it in order to save his life. But wisdom from above impelled him, urged him to say, yes, I am a believer. And even if I have 1,000 lives, I will offer all of them for Christ. The wisdom of the world will say, oh, Lorenzo, how foolish! You don't know how to answer and save your life. But in the kingdom of Christ, that foolishness is truly wisdom.
Sa palad mo ilalaan.
The word has been exposed. Let us now fulfill it.